that the mayor, yes, the mayor, and she should have been there. You was just shaking your behind at the party the night before. And whatever you had to do the next day, you should have been there.
You mean the press conference?
Yes.
Okay, no, just to be clear, this happened while the incident happened while we were at the thing. So
exactly, and she was shaking her behind there, doing the country whatever. She should have been at that press conference. Not only the mayor should have been at that press conference, the city council people should have been at that press conference.
With several of Mount Vernon officials sitting at the table across from me while this was going on. And when I found out, I was like, whoa, what? Yeah. So I was like, crazy. I'm going to let Damon tell you what happened. I'm like,
7:40 p.m. on October 16th near West Lincoln Avenue and Oak Street in the city of Mount Vernon. At this time of the incident, 5 prisoners, all remanded to the Westchester County Jail, were being transported by 2 uniformed Mount Vernon police officers seated in the front of the vehicle. The officers reported hearing a single gunshot from the rear of the van, followed by a prisoner stating that he had been shot. The officers immediately returned to police headquarters, where additional department personnel assisted in safely offloading the prisoners. During the process, a .22 caliber Rome RGT revolver was recovered from one of the prisoners. The weapon had 1 spent round and 4 live rounds remaining. The firearm has not been reported stolen, and a full firearm trace is underway. The injured prisoner, who had been remanded on an open case, sustained a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to his lower leg. He was transported to a local hospital where he remains under medical care. As he is a victim in this incident, no further information will be released regarding his identity. The alleged shooter has been identified as Louis Soto, 32, of the Bronx. Soto, who has no significant prior criminal history, has been remanded to the Westchester County Jail on a forcible touching charge stemming from an arrest on October 15th. In connection with this incident, Soto will face additional charges, including criminal possession of a weapon in the 2nd degree, assault in the 1st degree, reckless endangerment, and reckless endangerment. The department is conducting a full review of the circumstances surrounding this event, including relevant policies, procedures, and training. Preliminarily, findings indicate that the firearm should have been detected prior to the transport. Effective immediately, the use of the department's magnetometer handheld wand is now mandatory for all new prisoner processings. The use of it was optional previously. Additionally, all prisoners will be scanned with a handheld wand, magnetometer, both when entering and leaving the cell block to ensure the safety of officers and detainees. This will include prisoners coming in from and going to the county jail and other jails. Some of the officers involved have been temporarily assigned to desk duty pending completion of the investigation. They are not suspended or modified at this time. That does not mean that any officers have been cleared. Charges and modifications may be forthcoming, and the names of the officers are being withheld as the investigation remains active. That completes the conclusion of our statement.
How many officers on desk duty?
Right now we have 2. That could change.
Are they the officers of the van, or was somebody else responsible for searching the prison?
There's 1 officer that was in the van and 1 officer that had a different responsibility.
Did you find any additional contraband on Mr. Soto?
We're not going to discuss that at this time.
Did he hide the gun in his underwear?
That's under investigation. We'll be forthcoming with more information as that information makes itself available to us.
Did your search policies change after the interaction with the DOJ that was announced in 2024?
Our search policies, yes, changed. Our strip search policy changed.
Can you describe what was changed.
That's previous to that.
In what way, in which case, the gun might have been detected before under the old policy?
Say that,
In what way have they changed? In other words, would the gun have been detected more likely under the old policy?
I'm not going to speculate on that at this point.
What about in what way?
That wouldn't be speculation.
Deputy Chief?
You're asking about the policy change. The old policy and the new policy should have gone and caught the gun.
But it did.
So how do you recharacterize what happened here? Because a lot of people are saying this could have been a really bad thing, putting the public, the prisoners, and your police officers at risk.
This is a very serious incident. We take this very seriously. Like I said, it will be investigated, and nobody's been cleared from this incident.
Is there any indication whether the person was shot in the leg? Is there any indication whether or not the gun was fired intentionally or whether it went off accidentally?
That's under investigation at this point.
Are prisoners not handcuffed when they're transported?
No, they are handcuffed.
That's a good question because I wanted to know that.
Mr. Soto had the weapon on at the time of arrest, his whole time while he was in custody, arraigned, remanded.
I'd be speculating. I can only say that he was found to have it. We know that it was on him at the time he was placed in the prisoner van, and it should have been detected.
He appeared in court yesterday.
Yes.
Is there any responsibility of the state court officers in terms of once the prisoner is in court custody to be searching for him?
You'd have to ask them what their policy is. I'm not aware of any. We maintain security in the cell block.
And so would he have been searched prior to being booked at the county jail? Would he have been searched again at the county jail? Do you know?
You'd have to clarify that with them, but yes, he should have been.
Was the correct procedure followed? In other words, a gunshot went off in the van. Is there any question in terms of whether the police officers did the right thing coming back to headquarters at that point?
They absolutely did the right thing.
Was there any damage to the van?
I'm not aware of any damage to the van.
And Mr. Soto still had the gun in his possession when they came back to headquarters and checked out the prison?
We're not going to discuss part of the investigation, but he's been charged with a crime.
Thank you.
Okay.
So
All right. Go ahead, Adrian.
So again, and yes, Kemi, she was like, I didn't know it was the same time. Yeah, while we were at the Westchester Black Political Caucus, I saw her there. My phone was starting to blow up. And I eventually went outside right around the time after the mayor talked, before y'all started dancing. I went outside and to start answering calls because it was like I was just getting texts and calls over and over. And that's when I was told. And at that time, it was like it had just happened 45 minutes ago, according to the people that were calling me. So, yeah, it was while we were at the event. I have a lot of questions. Black Westchester didn't independently do a story on it. So I didn't really get a chance to really talk to nobody. I know I have sources and things I haven't confirmed independently myself. But what I was told was the individual was arrested. He was patted down, but he had this gun lodged inside him, and they didn't detect it. Then he went to court, like for his little arraignment thing, and he had it on him when he was in court, and then back to jail, and then he was in the van to be transported to Valhalla to the county jail. And it's funny because one of the reporters asked, and I never asked you, Damon, just from a law enforcement perspective. It's funny because I wanted to ask, you handcuff suspects are usually handcuffed when they're in the van being transported to the county jail. And if you're handcuffed where I'm told he had the gun, and if you're handcuffed in front of you, I'm not sure how the dynamics of how you get this gun out and you start shooting people. Evidently, it happened, but I'm not quite clear on all of that, and they're not saying much, but I just don't understand. There's a lot of questions I have about this right now.
Yeah. Well,
you
listen.
can answer one question. There was a question that a reporter said, would he have been searched when he got to the county jail?
Yeah, I'm gonna
speak to that.
Let's start off with that, right? And full disclosure for people that's watching, my wife is a detective in the department. Now,
Mount Vernon Police Department, yeah.
Mount Vernon Police Department. But I am a publisher of a newspaper. So it is incumbent on us to discuss it. I don't know anything else but from what the news is saying, because I want to keep it that way. I want to keep a firewall from what the news is saying. So my response is to what the chief says. Have a lot of respect for a lot of officers there in Mount Vernon Police Department. And I've met a lot of the new officers there at Mount Vernon Police Department. But I technically say with someone who has worked 33 years in law enforcement, who has wrote 2 reports that went to the United Nations on racism in policy and law enforcement, to the Geneva Convention. I did 2, and have advised the NAACP Legal Defense Fund on policies, procedures, and contract negotiations between unions and municipalities. It is my job to have a discussion about this issue with due respect to everybody that's involved. So I don't want to hear, don't go to my wife, don't say, well, your husband said this and that. I'm speaking from the fact of what the chief said. Never had any problem with the chief, but I do have a lot of problems. I do have a lot of problems with what they talked about with policy, because this could have been worse than what it is. And I'm keeping it 100. I'm a husband of a detective. And I've seen a couple of incidents that happened at the police department that could have put my wife in danger. So if anybody get upset about what I'm saying, you just have to get upset about what I'm saying, and don't go to my wife, come to me. Many people have my number. So that being said, let's start off. AJ, you talked about the county jail. He would have got caught in the county jail, right? I worked in receiving for 6 years at the county jail. And for all y'all don't know, I'm a retired correctional officer. So when you come into for 33 years, when you come into the county jail, you get strip searched, because you have to take off your civilian clothes, and we have to give you the jail oranges. And in the process of that, you have to go in a cubicle, you have to take your clothes off, you have to give us each item that you take off, and we search each item that you take off, and we put it in a property bag. Now, and when you become butt naked, standing in front of 2 officers, maybe 4, depending on how you run in your mouth when you come in, you have to raise your arms. We have to see if anything is under your armpits. You have to open up your mouth wide out, stick out your tongue, put it up, open it up so we can see everything that's in your mouth. You have to turn around. You have to show us the bottom of your feet so we know you ain't trying to hide nothing under. This is how it goes. Then you got to lift your ball sack and squat and spread your cheeks. And you have grown men looking in a man's behind to see if he's hiding anything in there. And then if we feel that you're hiding something in your body, we have the same machine that you have in the airport, where you stand there with your hands up and the machine scans you. and then it gives a whole picture of your body if any foreign objects is in your body. That's why he knew he wasn't going to have that up in the jail, because we would have found it in the county jail. And if we would have found it, he would have had a hard time. Period. It would have been a rough day, especially if I was working there. He would have had a rough day. And then he would got charged. Now, that being said, I have questions about the policy. In my 33 years in law enforcement, how is there no wand there? And how is there no metal detector when you walk into the cell block? There should be a metal detector when you walk into the cell block, especially when someone comes off the street. You allow them to walk into the cell block.
Wait. I have to go through that metal detector before I go to court upstairs. That what you talking about? I got to go through a metal detector before I go to the court upstairs in the same building.
Well, no. What we don't know, see, what the chief said is that the lockup is responsible for the security. So when we do it at the county jail, you don't see the inmate. He comes up on an elevator and then he's let into court, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how that works. I've never been down in lockup. I don't know how they take them up, but they should be able to take them up out of lockup. Mm-hmm. So if he went into lockup with the gun, there's a 99.999% chance when he saw the judge, he still had the gun on him. If the police department, right, if the police department, according to the chief, I'm not saying anything, I'm going by what the chief said. So nobody go run into my wife talking about what she said or anything. I'm going by everything what the chief said. So if they're in charge, then he had the gun then. 9 times out of 10, 99.9999%, he had the gun when he was in front of the judge. Because how are you going to explain he went to the judge, got rid of the gun, then got the gun back?
That could have been a whole other problem.
To go into the car, I hope that's not the scenario. Okay, so we got that. Now, when it comes to the policy, the chief said that they just started, they're adding the wand to the policy now. That day. So why wasn't there no wand in the policy before? Even though you might have had the DOJ report, which the DOJ was specifically addressing people being strip searched who were detained. Right? If you remember the case, AJ, with the 2 ladies, they wasn't arrested, they were detained.
Right.
So if that was the case, if you arrest someone, you don't search them. You could still do a body. Let me tell you, you could still, because we did it all the time in the jail, right in the hallway. You could still do a pat down, and the person could still have their clothes on. You could still find a gun, because I've found weapons. So there's a process, because we got to talk about it. When you search somebody and you hit the leg, boom, 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 hit that leg, you hit this leg, you run your fingers within the waistband and you shake it. And you shake it. You shake the waistband. Now, gun might have fall out then, Or you do behind the arm, you go up the groin and up the ass crack, and you're feeling with the back of your hand. We did that. That's not violating nobody. Because you're not open palming, you're going underneath. And if you feel some type of metal, oh, wait a minute, and then you hit them with the wand. Or you hit them with the wand before, the wand's gonna go off. If you had a wand, you ain't have a wand because you just said, you just start using the wand. This is a lockup, ladies and gentlemen, with no metal detector. That's crazy.
That's what I said. I go through a stricter search going to court than this guy did.
You go through a stricter search going to a club. They got metal detectors at the high school. How do you not have a metal detector down in your lockup?
Yes, you do have metal detectors at the high school. You got to go through. Yeah.
And I'm not badgering nobody, but this situation could have got worse than what it was.
We're asking the questions.
And the fact that the mayor, yes, the mayor, and she should have been there. You was just shaking your behind at the party the night before. And whatever you had to do the next day, you should have been there.
You mean the press conference?
Yes.
Okay, no, just to be clear, this happened while the
only,
incident happened while we were at the thing. So
exactly, and she was shaking her behind there, doing the country whatever. She should have been at that press conference. Not only the mayor should have been at that press conference, the city council people should have been at that press conference. Whoever's over public safety should have been at that press conference. It is a shame to the chief to let the chief face the press alone. Now I'm sticking up for the chief. He shouldn't have been there by himself. Addison shouldn't have been there by himself because the buck stops with the mayor. So, I mean, y'all can like what I said or you don't like what I said, but that's the truth. We're talking leadership. Someone got shot inside of a city police van, and not one elected official showed up to the press conference. You get the government you vote for. Period. How do we continue to allow this nonsense to continue to go on? I wanted to say something else, but this nonsense.
Yeah, yo. So
no, I'm not finished.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the officers can be charged with anything because they got to be charged with policies that they didn't adhere to. What policies did they didn't adhere to? If you had no real search policies. Huh? You got to violate a policy to be brought up on charges. So what charges are they going to be brought up on? When your search policies is unclear and not precise, and you didn't even have a wand or a metal detector to detect metal.
I thought he said it was optional.
It should never be optional. It should be some type of metal detection machine. Or teach officers how to do proper searches. That's why I've always said in the police academy of Westchester County, they need to do 2 to 4 weeks in the county jail before they go to the police department because they have to learn these things.
That should be part of their training, you're saying. Yeah.
It should be part of their training. And it was part of the recommendations that we made. And George Lattimore never put it to effect in the county jail. So that's another question we got.
You were on the advisory board.
I was on the advisory board. Actually, I made the recommendation, and at that time, it was backed by Terrence Rayner. He said it was a good idea, but he still has a boss. And that should be part of it. They need to go, they do it down in Miami-Dade with their sheriff's department. And the fact of the matter is, with their sheriff's department, you got to do 2 years in the county jail before you go to the street. So the recommendation is, in the police academy, make them do 2 weeks on the job training in the jail, so they can learn how to actually properly search somebody, because your life depends on it in there. Your life depends on it any place in law enforcement to do proper searches. And here's another thing, young officers that might be watching. You don't take custody over from nobody without searching them. No matter what the officer says, you search them yourself. It's been many times someone hand them over to me. I searched them myself. I'm talking about a pat down. What I just explained. I'm gonna go under the arms. I'm gonna go under the breastplate. I'm gonna go in his waist. I'm gonna shake the hell out of his pants. I'm gonna check his shoes, because he becomes my responsibility. Once you take that person over in your custody. So any officer that is listening, you take someone over in your custody, you search them yourself. Because it easily could have been an officer that was shot.
Or the judge.
Or the judge. Or the judge. This is very, very serious. And it's very disappointing that there was no elected official there at that press conference. You shouldn't allow the chief to do that by himself. Because let me tell you, Jessie Van Loo has been asking the mayor herself, what was the policy changes? Nobody want to say what the policy changes was? Well, clearly after this, the policies didn't work. And I'm not knocking anybody. But when you have the community asking the mayor, asking the city council, after the DOJ report, what are the policy changes? And Jessie never got an answer.
Yeah, neither did I'm vice president of the Mount Vernon NAACP. We've been trying to set up a meeting. I think I'm going to insist on demand a meeting now again, because we wanted to talk about, I'm also over criminal justice, the criminal justice committee. We definitely wanted to talk about, the DOJ's findings and what changes they made, if any, since the DOJ report came out. And definitely this is time again for us to insist on or demand a meeting. So I will be doing that. I'll be talk with my president, and we'll be reaching out this week to set up.
And I will also advise the NAACP to write a letter to the Southern District of New York with this incident to prove that there needs to be someone over to make sure that these policies are correct. Now, what the Trump administration did, ladies and gentlemen, which was detrimental to communities, that all the consent decrees in all the police departments, they wiped away. So the actual oversight of the police department, there wasn't no oversight to police departments that needed oversight. And we had this, and I had this conversation at the NAACP meeting. And it's still up to the people to demand accountability and transparency in what they were doing. And I'm not knocking anybody. I just want to make sure everybody's safe. Everybody should be safe because the situation could have got worse than what it was.
And my sources, again, I haven't had a chance to independently corroborate anything, but my sources told me that the individual would have shot a lot more people if the gun hadn't jammed. And I have to look into that independently as Black Westchester, but that is what a source told me.
Well, yeah. Well, if the gun
actually, two sources told me that, to be honest. Yes.
Well,
good evening,
listen,
Sister Dawn C. Wright. Good evening. Go
what's
ahead.
up, sis? Love you, sis. You know, and that's crazy. And that's insane. But I mean, listen, Mount Vernon, y'all get the government you vote for.
I was to say, elections have consequences.
And I'm very hurt that there was no elected officials there to back up to back up the police department. How you gonna leave the chief out there by himself?
I covered a lot of press conferences in this 11 years that we've done that had to do with police criminality, misconduct of the police and everything. Ernie was always at all of them. Sometimes he was the only one who spoke, but he was there to address it. Richard Thomas, like him or not, Richard Thomas was always at those press conferences. And I'm only going by the time that we've been doing Black Westchester, that these mayors were there and other people were there.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We already at the we talked about this, man. I didn't even get to talk. So listen, that's it. I just want to. I see one of the brothers.
We're gonna follow up.
How many people you got coming on from the for the?
Yo, Grant, you got one more person coming? Give me a nod. One more person. There's just you.
Yeah.
What's that mean? You're not sure? Okay. Yo, so
we're gonna take 5 more minutes.
Yeah, but we're gonna talk about it. But we're going to be getting into this a little bit more right now. This has just come upon us. We haven't really independently corroborated anything. So now there's a lot of questions, and this is the first time we actually had to address this. So we're addressing it, and I'm glad Damon brought the perspective. And I wanted you to do that, from working at the county. What is this? Mount Vernon.
I got it. Just keep talking.
Okay. So I wanted Damon to speak to that policy. And one of the reporters asked that about the transfer to the county and how the county handles things. And I think that was very good. And your perspective from a law enforcement perspective, I think was very important. And again, the chief there was a press conference, the chief spoke, we played it for you. And if you missed it in this conversation, when this is over, go back to the beginning of the video. We played it for you so you can see what we're talking about. We're responding to what the chief actually said. We still have a lot.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents The People Before Politics show, the news with the Black point of view.